The unprecedented amounts of rainfall that fell in the Nashville metropolitan area on May 1st and 2nd, 2010 resulted in catastrophic flooding, the loss of 11 lives, and countless swiftwater rescues. These outcomes prompted thorough assessments of the services provided during flood emergencies by federal, state, and local agencies.
When combined, these assessments identified three overlapping needs: the need for improved coordination between responding agencies, the need for more and better data for analysis and interpretation during a flood emergency, as well as the need for more personnel who can make qualified decisions and recommendations during a flood emergency. From these fundamental needs, the Nashville Situational Awareness for Flooding Events program, called NASHVILLE SAFE for short, was born. Hello, I'm Brad Hallwagon.
And I'm Catherine Osborne, and we're from AMEC Environment and Infrastructure here in Nashville.
We will be your guides through this important training video on how to help us and others keep Nashville safe during a flood event. The mission of NASHVILLE SAFE is to support emergency managers during a current or imminent flood emergency with timely, practical, and targeted response recommendations. This is done by synergizing the personnel, knowledge, skills, and abilities of Metro Water Services, Metro Office of Emergency Management, Metro Planning and GIS Services, Metro ITS, Metro Nashville Police Department, the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, the U.S. Geological Survey, the National Weather Service, and the consulting firm AMEC into a system of flood warning that specifically satisfies the needs of the emergency managers, is well understood by all, and is cost-effective to the stakeholders.
I think one of the things we all focused on after the flood was how can we improve coordination amongst the federal agencies, the state agencies, local agencies, all of the players that were involved in the flood. How can we improve how we communicate? How can we improve on how we share information, and how can we coordinate that information in a way that can help the citizens of Nashville? I think the key outcome of this is exactly that. All the agencies are in the room, we're meeting monthly, we're all talking much more aggressively toward each other about how we can improve. This tool is a direct result of that. This tool is not going to be the end of that discussion, it's going to be the beginning and a continuation of the discussion. We're going to be in the room together going forward, especially in the rainy seasons of March, April, May, October, November, December. This tool will enable us to improve our ability to serve our citizens and to improve our ability to communicate amongst each other.
To support the mission of NASHVILLE SAFE, while addressing the three needs identified during the service assessments, several tasks have been performed.
To address the need for more and better data, the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, the U.S. Geological Survey, and AMEC are engaged in highly detailed computer flood simulation, also known as modeling, and mapping efforts. These efforts ensure that as many streams in Nashville as possible have flood modeling and mapping available.
Additionally, AMEC has created reference manuals called Watershed Advisory Guides, or WAGs for short, that take flood modeling results and GIS data and provide flood impact assessments and response recommendations in terms that can be understood by emergency managers of varying backgrounds.
Also, the GIS and Mapping Services Division of the Metro Planning Department has created an internal online flood mapping program that displays real-time and predictive rainfall and river data, as well as real-time and predictive flood mapping. Although NASHVILLE SAFE makes every attempt to make products that are easily understandable, the fact remains that the majority of data available for interpretation and assessment during a flood emergency requires an engineering or hydrology background to understand. To provide a link between the data and the response actions, Metro Water Services has trained personnel called Watershed Advisors.
These trained personnel understand how timing, intensity, and quantity of rainfall affect timing and elevation of flooding. They understand interrelationships between various types of data available for analysis during a flood event. They interpret the data in real time while collaborating with the National Weather Service, USGS, Corps of Engineers, and OEM personnel. Additionally, they provide scientifically based impact assessments and decision recommendations to the situation management team. Watershed advisors work out of the Emergency Operations Center during flood emergencies. Part of their responsibility is to dictate response actions to the Metro Nashville Police Department personnel. There are a number of flood response actions needed during a flood emergency, such as checking or blocking a bridge or road, evacuating a building or neighborhood, rescuing flood victims, or sandbagging a portion of the shoreline. To help prioritize these response actions, they have been grouped into action levels. At a particular action level, there are impacts identified with that level, such as which roads, buildings, neighborhoods, and bridges will most likely flood.
An action level is a summary of flooding impacts and response actions for a range of flooding elevations along a stream. In Metro Nashville, there are 11 action levels, lettered A through K, with action level A having the least flooding and lowest number of impacts, and action level K having the most widespread flooding and the most possible impacts. Action levels have been independently evaluated for the Cumberland and Harpeth rivers, as well as several streams in the Mill, Richland, Browns, and Whites Creek watersheds. This means that before or during a flood emergency, watershed advisors will simply state that response actions are required up to a certain action level for a certain river, creek, stream, or watershed. For example, they may say, action level F impacts expected for Richland Creek and tributaries, but only action level E impacts expected for Mill Creek and action level B impacts for the Cumberland. At times, watershed advisors may be able to determine timing of action levels as well, such as immediately following the storm, expect action level A, increasing to action level D within 3 hours.
Project SAFE, or Situational Awareness to Flooding Events, has been developed to assist our government in dealing with ever-changing conditions in emergency situations. Action level maps have been created to more effectively communicate pending impacts or current action levels for the MNPD. These maps are in Adobe PDF format and can be viewed on the mobile data terminals in each squad car, as well as on any computer having the Adobe Reader software. There are 11 sets of maps corresponding to 11 action levels. The levels are designated A through K. They are for the Cumberland and Harpeth rivers, as well as the Mill, Richland, Browns, and Whites Creek watersheds. Officers need the best information available when dealing with flooding events, and this system ensures them the access to current data.
This is an example of an action level map. In the upper right-hand corner, each map will be labeled with the stream or watershed name and the action level. In this example, the map is Mill Creek Action Level H. There are maps for Mill Creek for each action level, A through K, called a set. This table further illustrates what constitutes a complete map set for each stream or watershed. Within each set, the stream is broken up into panels to be easier to view. Each panel is given 3 numbers and a letter that is consistent throughout each set, meaning whenever you are looking at this location, regardless of the action level, it will always be 162D. Only the flooding and impacts displayed on the map will change with each action level. Below the map title, an index is shown that will help MNPD personnel to understand the spatial location of the current map in relation to the other panels. The current map panel is shown grayed out in the center of the index, with the adjacent map panel numbers shown around it. In this case, we are currently on map panel 162D. If we wish to know what impacts will be to the west, we look directly to the left of the gray box in the index and find that the next map to the west is map 161C. It should also be noted that the panels far north and south are shown in this guide as well for a quick and easy reference.
As it is their primary purpose, each map will indicate, for the user, the area covered by flooding at the current action level. This is the neon green area. The color of the inundation layer changes with each action level. This map also will label streets and bridges that get flooded at this action level and any action level below it. Critical facilities that may be flooded, such as hospitals, police stations, fire stations, schools, daycares, etc., are also labeled with the symbols shown in the legend. In general terms, the flooding, shown here in the neon green, will increase as the action level increases from A to K. Please remember these are flooding predictions with a level of uncertainty and may not show exactly what will happen in an actual flooding event. Zooming in closer on the Mill Creek Action Level H map, we can see 2 flooded streets and bridges shown by the yellow and green points. Although this is a map for Action Level H, Cedarmont Drive and Old Hickory Boulevard are expected to first start flooding at Action Level D, and E respectively, shown from the letters next to the points. You can also see, based on the data available, how wide the flooding is expected to be. For example, some of the buildings near the Cedarmont Drive Bridge are expected to flood. Zooming into another area on the same map, one can see an example of a flooded side street. In this case, although the map is for action level H, this cul-de-sac off Cedar Valley Drive is expected to begin to flood at action level E. It should also be noted that, according to the data available, 5 homes are expected to flood in this area.
In the event that flood response actions are required, links to action level map indexes will be sent to officers through their mobile data terminals. The officer will open the message, copy the link, and paste it into Internet Explorer. The officer must identify their location on the index map and click on the map panel that applies to their location to open the appropriate action level map. The officer is then able to respond to specific action locations by looking at the map features. Nashville SAFE anticipates using the action level maps for multiple response and information related uses. In most cases, they will be used to dispatch patrol cars to areas known to flood at a predicted action level or a known low action level area.
Additionally, to be able to predict an action level on a particular stream, it may be necessary to have patrol cars relay water level information back to the watershed advisor at the EOC, also known as ground truthing.
The Metropolitan Nashville Police Department plays a key role in the effective management of any emergency, including floods, and we depend on the police department in the EOC to assist us with a number of activities, such as warning residents, coming floodwaters, evacuation of public buildings, search and rescue operation, and road closures. Also, the officers play a very vital role in being the eyes and ears out in the field, reporting back to the Emergency Operations Center disaster intelligence, which then in turn helps all agencies within the EOC manage the disaster operation and target our assets and resources to be the most effective.
We will now provide some examples of how and when action level maps should be used by MNPD officers. In this example, based on information available to them, the watershed advisors at the EOC are predicting that action level D will be reached. MNPD personnel are assigned action level D maps. Using these maps, they are able to determine appropriate response actions, such as warning or evacuation of the row of homes adjacent to Mill Creek or blocking of the roadways indicated as flooding on the map.
In this example, action level D is predicted by the watershed advisors at the EOC. MNPD personnel are assigned action level D maps. Having been trained on the use of these maps, MNPD knows that there are 5 potentially impacted streets that should be blocked if flooded. MNPD also knows that Culberson Road will flood first because the point is assigned action level A, the lowest action level.
In this example, watershed advisors believe that based on available data, action level D will be reached on Mill Creek. They are unable to ascertain how soon action level D will be reached on Mill Creek. Since the watershed advisors know that Cane Ridge Road, adjacent to Collins Creek and the upstream portion of the watershed, will flood at action level D, before Mill Creek reaches action level D, MNPD personnel will be directed to report when Cane Ridge Road floods. This will allow watershed advisors to make recommendations and warnings to the more populated areas of Mill Creek.
In this example, watershed advisors believe that, based on available data, action level D will be reached on Mill Creek. They do not know how soon action level D will be reached on Mill Creek. Since the watershed advisors know that Packard Drive, where it crosses Sorghum Branch in the upstream portion of the watershed, will flood at action level D before Mill Creek reaches action level D, MNPD personnel will be assigned an action level D map and directed to check Packard Drive and report when it becomes flooded. This will allow watershed advisors to deliver response recommendations and warning along more populated areas of Mill Creek.
In this example, based on available data, the watershed advisors believe that action level E has already been reached. Because of limited data availability and the widespread impacts of action level E, a ground truth effort is requested. MNPD personnel are assigned action level E maps and directed to verify action level E impacts, such as Harding Place over Vaughn's Gap Branch, are occurring.
This concludes the Nashville Safe MNPD Action Level Training video.
If you have any questions, please contact your supervisor.
We thank you very much for your attention.